Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone from across the world. It's my absolute pleasure to have Waters Above again with an emergency podcast after what we just experienced in the crypto market 2 days ago. And what I'd like to call one of the quickest liquidations I think we've seen in a long time, if not ever. It's one of those moments where you really have to sit back, relax, and let the charts speak for themselves. And Waters hit me up this morning actually and said, "Bull, hey, we got to do another one." And you guys know I want to deliver as much as of an overhead view as I possibly can. So you guys aren't afraid. You guys know what to expect. You got a grounded take with a different approach. Brother, I think my audience knows exactly what to expect, but I'm curious to know, what do you see? What's going on? This is the XRP chart in the screen. Take it away, my friend. I know you have a lot to talk about.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back on and doing this last minute. It's great to connect with you as always. I really appreciate you and your community. I know that the last couple podcasts we did, we had some really big changes in the XRP chart. And as
Mhm.
we're connecting today, clearly back into a prior trading range that not many people expected to see. And I am just opening this up with the good news first, which is usually not my style, but I'm opening it up with the good news right now, which is a bi-weekly chart for XRP. I'm looking at 2-week candles. And then instead of looking at the actual candlesticks, I'm going down here to area. I really like this because what it does is it removes any wicks or tails and it just gives you the closes. So these are 2-week candle closes on every single pivot. So, needless to say, we had this prior yearly high coming back to April 2021. Most of you probably remember this as the last alt season. XRP obviously did not go into price discovery. It had a lower high comparatively to back in December of 2017. Let me move this over a
Mhm.
little bit. And what this became in my methodology that's been built off of the great work of Richard Wyckoff and his Wyckoff method, what this became was a macro automatic rally. So that's a really good thing because in the grand scheme of things, after you finish this stage up, if you ever break this again, you could basically anticipate a much higher price target than where you got in the last bull run. So that's very good news to start is in the macro, we're getting very close to a move that will send us higher than this April 2021 high. And that would be your signal to go in a straight line breakout, which is a thing that XRP tends to do. I think we could all agree with that. But that would be your technical level to consider. Now, the reason why this is so important is because we can see that this trend line is showing us a rejection right here, which was a bull trap, which then led us into lower lows in the overall cycle. We could just call this our bear market, which we're seemingly still kind of in. But I will correct some people who believe that we're still in a bear market and let them know that we're actually in the first phase of a bull run. And
Mhm.
I could confirm that by this trigger right here on specifically XRP. And I could also confirm that by what Bitcoin did by breaking above 25K a couple months ago. So that would be phase one of the bull run when you break out of a resistance level that has been over a year. I mean, definitely. And we
Mhm.
could see there's a lot more maturity in crypto charts now than the way they used to be. Cycles are lengthening slightly from pivot to pivot. And the position that we're in right now with XRP is we broke out of this level going into this, 80, 90 cent range that we have already talked about. I was very public about de-risking at those levels. Glad I did. And then we've now come back to this trend line, which was a prior resistance, and we will be seeing if this becomes a support. And if this does become a support, that would be a very healthy back test and a needed back test. And Bull, I believe me and you talked about this actually on the day or two of this actual breakout on a call. And I was telling you that when we get these moves with XRP, where you can see a wick that has clearly been rejected and a sell wall by the whales, this usually is your top. And it's kind of annoying that it happens that way because everyone wants some structure and then they want us to move another leg up. And I've even talked about those theories, but this did not change my trading plan, which was all about de-risking in these levels of 83, 86, 89. That's the
Okay.
reason why I treat this particular coin this way. And I know a lot of people that are listening today, they're not short term. I am also not short term. And that's why I'm starting off today's analysis by showing you a trend line resistance that has been going for 800 days, and we've just back tested it. This is very macro analysis, and this is very healthy. This is very good. But this pump that we got was insane. It was not sustainable, and we came down as fast as we went up. So this is a point now to say that we can learn a lesson from all of this. And it was something that I was sharing with you, I think, in our first podcast ever, which was before XRP was deemed non-security. And I said that what will bring a massive amount of price inflation to XRP would not be the SEC's ruling on the case or the ending of the case. It will not be that. It will be a shitcoin wipeout. That's what will bring a lot of gains to XRP.
Mm,
And this was always my truth. I've been sharing this now for over a year and a half. I've been sharing it pretty much since Shiba Inu became so popular, because I was saying to myself, if this is the kind of thing that's getting so much attention, it's taking attention away from things like XRP. And this is how the elite, or the New World Order, whatever you want to call them, the apex predator, this is how they run their simulation on the
mm,
world. They get you to be distracted by shiny objects while you are distracted from the truth of truths. And I believe XRP plays a huge role in all of our investment thesis here today, because you are aware of these truths. You're very aware of what's going on here.
yeah.
And that's why it's my second biggest holding. But needless to say, I think that this short pump up here was not sustainable. We needed to correct. We corrected very harshly. I mean, this is leverage. I think what we saw up here was probably also leverage. And excuse me, this recent correction was to wipe out leverage traders for sure.
Mm,
And the fact that now we're back above this level, I know it doesn't look as clean, because before I was looking at the biweekly here, it looks very clean. This correction now, we have one more trend line to consider, and I'm going to show you here. I'm looking at the daily chart. These are daily closes, and it's this support line. This is another thing to consider, because this is going back to May. So we're looking at 100 days of data over 3 months. So I think that holding this level is perfect, because not only is it this macro descending resistance that could now be confirmed as a support, but we've also been having this micro uptrend structure where we have low, higher high, higher low, higher low, higher high. You see what we're actually in the process of a reversal. And this is why I said we're in phase one of the bull run. So this
mhm.
is very good. Like, whatever negativity people have in their stomachs at all, just suck it in, because this pullback was needed. The fact that we couldn't even get as high as $1 showed that any theories around the SEC need to be flushed down the toilet today, because it doesn't really have much to do with the future of XRP. It was a planned psychological operation and black swan event to this particular coin. And we remember what it did. It was back into the end of, what was it, 2020. And we saw prices as low as 17 cents. But then during the beginning of this case, we saw XRP almost go to $2. That
Yeah.
was another thing that I've been sharing with people, to get them to just throw any theories around what this isolated event of the SEC case has to do with the price of XRP. It has now proved itself again that it's not as important as a lot of people think. So I'll leave it at there for now. We're looking very good on these charts. I know this was a pretty nasty correction. I hope that everything we've learned over the past, couple months has taught us that we don't need to be so focused on the SEC at all. We know the truth of where Ripple stands in the global financial ecosystem. We don't need to worry about that. Now it's about, and this is going to be kind of sad for people, it's about Bitcoin going into a new bull run.
I
we
mean,
need we need
that,
Bitcoin bull run in order to
yeah.
see these other more speculative assets go into price discovery.
And that's something I've definitely been hammering home to my audience over the past, especially 2 years. It's that, unfortunately, this Bitcoin shitcoin that I don't necessarily like that much,
Sure.
but it is what it is. This is the king of the market. It is the OG Godfather, and we have to make sure that this baby has some legs to run. And unfortunately, that's our reality.
Because it's the
Something,
confidence of the market.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
why.
yeah, yeah.
It's
And
the
that's more
confidence of the
money.
market.
That's more
Exactly.
money into that could trickle down as well. I like what you're showing me right now. Can you touch on what you're showing the world?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you're so transparent on how you feel about all this stuff. And
Yeah.
I just call Bitcoin the power plant of the crypto market. And if the power plant goes out and takes a couple days off, well, we see what it does to everything else.
Mhm.
So I think it's important to not disregard the power of knowing TA or having some semblance of an idea of what's happening in the Bitcoin chart, even if you own none of it and you're only into XRP. Because this is sort of what I brought to the world. I've been telling people this since day one. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi. I'm not an XRP, any of that. I'm just a technical analyst and I'm a decoder. I'm very transparent about this. I do hold a big position in Bitcoin, but that's because of other things that I'm not exposed to, such as real estate and gold. And
Mhm.
I think that those are savvy, things for people who have the time and passion to get into them. And anything, if I could explain one thing about me that might be different from some other people, is that I only get myself involved in shit that I know about. So I don't know about real estate that well. I can speak on it from a perspective of, what's going on holistically in the economy, and I understand that real estate, housing, mortgages, all of this play a role, but I'm not a specialist. I plan to someday, and that will be the day I start talking about it. So this is why I think a Bitcoin play is good for me, because I'm very aware of it and it has the ROI. It has this, long-term chart to prove that it'll continue to go up just like the stock market. While something like XRP, on the other hand, it doesn't have that nature. And that was proven back in 2021 when it couldn't even break $3. And that's pretty much the case for a lot of those OG projects, such as XLM, Dash. I mean, it happened with even Monero.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin has proven itself, and the chart is very helpful. So, needless to say, that kind of lets people know where I stand on this. And what's going on in this chart today is something that I'm just looking at now, which is this RSI on the daily, all the way down at 18. So, for people that are newer to TA or not sure much what this oscillator indicator is all about, anything below 30 is considered oversold. Anything above 70 is considered overbought. This isn't the greatest indicator on earth. It's lagging, but it's very helpful actually for us to determine when we get extremes in the data where we're likely to go next. And when we're seeing as low as 18, we could zoom out here, hold our cursor, and we could see that the last time that we were this low was actually in March of 2020. What happened in March of 2020, guys? We went into a global pandemic where the whole world was shut down. How do you feel now? That
Yeah.
was the last time such an insanely high market cap asset such as Bitcoin has had an RSI this low.
Now,
And what
I've
did we do after
actually,
that event? We had a V-shaped recovery.
yeah, and I actually, my crypto spidey senses have been feeling like that was like what just occurred was a bottom. However, that's why we have you here to try and validate, see if the charts are speaking this way,
For sure.
and see what's going on next. And something I did want to ask you, just for the people at home as well, is that I've had a running thesis that we could still hit that 35 to 40K range for Bitcoin before we hit this October time frame where things may get a little ugly. I'm curious to
Wow.
know if that's something that we could still be in for.
So there's a couple things to say about that, but I'm not sure where you want me to go. Do you want me to answer that first and then get to some of the other TA points?
Sure, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So while it's all on our mind, the idea of a 40K or 35K Bitcoin first before a deeper correction into like 20K or less, is that kind of what you're asking?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So this is really tough right now because in the past cycles, when we start to break below this 382 fib, that's when things get a little awkward. But we've been mimicking the 2016 cycle like to a T. So I'm going to scroll back a little bit to this 2015, 2016 cycle. And you can see that actually this is kind of the claim to fame on some recent work of mine because I've been talking about a flash crash in August, particularly around August 17th, August 16th, August 18th. And right here in the bull run of 2015, you can see we got a flash crash exactly on August 18th.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mind blowing. And we've recovered out of it. And then we had the same thing happen in 2012 too. If
You
we go
know,
back over here.
for people at home that maybe may not be aware, I've been seeing you very much state that you expect some sort of a drop in this specific week. So it's one of those things where I hate when you're right more than you know, brother. I really do. But you
Well,
continue to prove yourself, my friend.
it's beautiful because I've been seeing people like send me screen caps of like calendars that they keep on their refrigerator where they had like from 2 weeks ago, they had the 16th, 17th, and 18th marked out with flash crash written on it. I've seen like at least 10 people send me that and they're like, bro, how?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I'll let people know, like I'm not taking credit for this seriously. It's because Bitcoin has done this several times. So I'm showing that right now. And this was what changed my whole like, feelings on what would be going down specifically in August. And it's the 2012 Bitcoin chart. In the month of August, we had a blue moon. This year, in the month of August that we're in right now, we have a blue moon. What a blue moon is two full moons in the same month. And you can see nasty flash crash into August 19th. And it was starting as soon as the 17th, which is when our correction was. Now, so far, we might have bottomed out of this because in every iteration of a flash crash in August, in the month of August, Bitcoin goes into a trend reversal to the upside, and that is your lows. So I wanted to answer your question about the idea of a 40K Bitcoin first. Now, this is kind of difficult to determine because again we're limited in cycle data, and if we were to do that we would need to have a reason. And what would that reason be? Probably something with the
The
maybe
ETF.
ETF.
Yeah.
I would say that would be the only thing that I could come up with like out of nowhere. If I could quickly assume an exoteric thing, something that you all know what me and Bull just said, like a Bitcoin ETF everyone knows about. So guys, you need to listen here with me, go into your heart. When everyone fucking knows something, is that the way it's going to go?
Yeah, no.
Right. So, like, no one knew about the August 17th flash crash except for a very small amount of people that were following along, either studying the charts or perhaps knew about my work. So, this is like when you know some real deep shit that you need to search for hard and take time and put your emotions on the sidelines. Well, then that's usually where the truth prevails. But if everyone knows about it, like, do I want a Bitcoin ETF and any of that? Sure. If that's what will make us recover, if that's what they need to give the world to make the world feel better, then sure. Whatever, man. But I really don't feel like even the crash that we just got was due to Evergrande, which is what everyone was saying it was.
Yeah.
And I'm
It
like, that makes
was
no fucking sense
it
because if you look
was
at all these other altcoins that went down, none of them were associated with this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was Evergrande and it was Elon, my friend.
Right. And
Yeah,
what it
yeah,
is
yeah.
here is that retail likes excuses. They like something to
Yes.
blame. And the New World Order knows this. They know that we need to give these peasants just some shit to chew on to give them truth that is coming from us rather than them extracting truth from their own search.
And that's I'm gonna pause you right there because I think that's something that's extremely important for the world to grapple with. You see, the news, I used to be someone that thought that the news affected the market until I've been in the market for, I think it's 7 years now. And I 100% have flip-flopped and I understand completely that the news is just there to justify what was already going to happen, right? Like
Absolutely.
the retail investor is reactionary. The news for the classes is proactive, right? Like why is it that immediately when the XRP case ended and it was deemed not a security, boom, we pop up 100% gain? It's because people were positioned already. Motherfuckers with billions of dollars, they knew exactly what was going to happen when it happens, and then retail piles in at the end,
I
right? So
think the best example of this was it happened a couple of times back in 2021 when we were getting a couple nasty corrections. Of course, we had the first one, which was in April. Excuse me, it was in May, right here. This big correction pretty much ended the alt season. And then it was your next one that came in right around here. And the two times that they gave reasons for this, it had to deal with mining facilities in China.
yeah.
And I loved when this happened because it proved a point that I've been making that I was just touching on moments ago and what you're illuminated to. And it was that, well, if Bitcoin is affected by mining and all of these so called mining facilities, Bitcoin mining facilities are in China, then why did XRP correct so much? It's not even mined.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with China. The Ripple's based in the United States. Like, and then people's like jaws are on the ground because they're like, but, and I'm like, dude, if Bitcoin corrects, everything corrects. And if they give you news that's isolated and you want to be a conspiracy theorist, because that's what real conspiracy theorists do, they actually never find truth. I know that that might be shocking to some people, but that's the
Yeah.
purpose for conspiracy theories. They were invented to give to the public,
The
not to give to the
news,
ones who seek truth.
the
Exactly.
news is actually the conspiracy theory, and the conspiracy theorists are actually on the money. That's the
Yeah.
irony of the world right now,
Yeah.
isn't it?
So when it comes to conspiracy, it's really fascinating how a majority of it is completely based in bullshit. And you could find other stuff on the sidelines that supports how it's bullshit. And yes, there is some merit to you being practicing discernment and you practicing an open mind by all means. But if you're going to waste your whole day wondering what the shape of the earth is and like if there's a lizard clan sucking blood out of babies, then like, and your life isn't going so well, well, then perhaps you should put that information on the sidelines for a moment so you could change your life.
Oh man, damn waters. I can't talk about the lizard people anymore.
Me and
It's
you are going to
fine.
make a conspiracy podcast,
Oh,
by
we
the way.
are,
It's
we
going to
are,
happen.
we
It's
are.
going to
We're
happen.
we're, we're gonna talk about it.
But Eddie, let's get this back on the rails. So we had this fractal or this whole bull run, I think, of 2014 to 2017. I want you all to study. And I believe we can do the same thing with XRP. And people lately in the XRP community, I'm seeing more and more going back to that moment, studying, researching, looking at fractals, yada, yada, yada. And I think, brother, we're about to move into a bull run that might be like this 2017 one, which was
Mhm.
the easiest bull run to navigate. But right now we're in this bear market vibe of through 2014 into the mid 20s. Let's just call it Q3 2016. But remember what I said earlier, we're in phase one of the bull run. So we're right here. We're pretty much like in this energy. I know that I have this circled going back over here, but this sort of thing that happened where we had one last flash crash double bottom and then we just swooped out of it. I want everyone to look at that moment because it was very similar at 19 crash. We came down super hardcore, oversold RSI in the daily, and then we just bounced really quick. So if we're gonna get anything more likely first, it's just a flash moment in either direction. If we do get bullish, that could be in alignment with one piece of data, and that has to deal with the stock market. Now I'm entertaining your idea or your thesis of a 35 or 40K Bitcoin first, and it comes from the stocks.
Yeah.
Now I know the stock market is corrected, but when we look at the historical data over the last 50 years on pre-election years, we tend to close the month of, let me clean this up for you guys. We tend to close the month of August actually green. Now, that hasn't been the case the last 3 years, not three pre-elections, because that would be going back like 12 years or whatever. But needless to say, the month of August in the past 3 years has actually been quite bearish. And we're looking about as bearish as we usually do on average. So either we've bottomed on the S&P and we're going to have a little bit of a bounce from here, or there's going to be another event to drive us into the full-blown correction that I'm personally anticipating, and that's going to start now. This is why I've started to, kind of position myself into being short the stock market because I'm not feeling too good about it. And especially when I'm seeing gold down below 1900 USD at the same time as the stock market being down and Bitcoin's down, it's like, where are rich people putting their money then?
Hmm.
Has anyone been talking about this? If gold is down and the stock market's down and crypto is down, where clearly gold isn't being used as a hedge at this time? People are de-risking it.
That's in
And
dollars.
that, of course, yes, this is in dollars,
Yeah.
USD. So I'm curious about this to see a 4% red candle on gold at the same time as I'm seeing a 4% red candle on the S&P 500, as well as I'm seeing a huge correction in crypto. We're seeing an 11% correction in Bitcoin. So the energy seems to be going into fiat. It's going into dollars. And what did I tell you? And what I've been telling the whole world for years now, like, you see this data all align right before we have a huge black swan. Like, if people think what just happened was a black swan, no, it wasn't. Everything has corrected kind of where it needs to correct. And when you zoom out, you see that it all kind of looks basic. This was a
Mhm.
black swan. Look at the tail on that. Okay. So what we've seen right now is nothing. I mean, I think that the stock market has a lot to give. I think crypto has a lot less to give because it's already so battered and bruised. But if I was to give my intuitive answer on a 35 to 40K Bitcoin first, I would say it's less likely. But I still feel that there's a 30K Bitcoin to 33, 34. And it would take about I want to say 200 days after we entered this trading range. So that would put us somewhere into the beginning of sorry, I forgot where I got this data from, but it was probably this last cycle as well. It was when we stepped into here and we went sideways for some time. And let me just take the amount of days. Yeah, there you go. That's where I got that data from. So I just want to be clear for everyone so they're not getting confused. 2020, 2015, we had this double bottom style huge correction, and then we went into phase one of the bull run. We're trapped sideways for about 200 days before we actually started moving up and into a full-blown trend reversal. So to be fair, that moment would be like, I suppose, right around here. And I think this is really precarious to me because that'd be heading into our October solar eclipse. I would just say we extend this out a little bit, look into like November, December, and that would make a lot of sense to see a 30K plus Bitcoin again to get through,
Mhm.
to get into the depths of Q4. And remember, if Bitcoin can drop from 30K to 25 in a day, it could go up in a day. It's the same. It's how Bitcoin moves, and that'll bring XRP right back up. So I'm more down right now than I am up, or I guess I should say I'm more sideways and down than I am up because we had this huge invalidation on this double top structure, and it's noticeable that XRP is weak. It came all the way back down to the same trading range that it's been in pretty much for how long now? 460 days.
Yeah.
So if people want a positive answer, I would say that expect a recovery into the very end of this year, around Christmas time into Q1. And then that will probably be a signal that things are okay. Pre-election year data is fascinating, brother. Like we have pre-election year data going back to 20 or sorry, 50 to 70 years on a lot of charts. And you could, of course, do your own due diligence and just go into like the Dow Jones or S&P and go to like monthly candles, and you could just get that data all the way back to fucking, 1880.
Yeah.
You could just go through all the pre-election years and you could see like what was the behavior month to month. And it seems October, November, December actually bullish.
So, but this is something I'm gonna ask. Are we in that time frame where you've been warning about over the past couple months that we could continue to see some bleeding out, especially from the stock market and especially from Bitcoin? And if we do, what does that bottom kind of look like?
Do you want it on Bitcoin or XRP?
Let's do it on both. I think
Okay.
people kind of really want to see XRP, but let's see Bitcoin as well.
Yep. Okay. Let me start with XRP because it's a little bit more predictable.
Hmm.
So zooming out here, I have this again. I don't love lines, guys. So let me just draw this maybe on a fresh chart. Oh, this is even cleaner. Disregard all this missing data. It doesn't really matter. But this trend line is actually the one that I shared with the bottom one. I shared this with you actually
Mhm. Yeah.
right before we broke out. And it was like this setup. That was what I shared with you.
Mhm.
So right now we're just looking at different data on the top, but this trend line on the bottom, I think, is really fascinating how it's been holding. And God, it looks really annoying right now because I didn't have time to prepare my charts. This is a little better. Everyone, just do your best to look at the blue line. Right here was after the C19 crash. We held this line. We popped up a little bit, and then you guys remember flare nonsense. Huge correction because of the SEC case against Ripple. Held the line. We went into this nice mini run, came all the way back to this trend line again. Boom, boom, boom. Keep bouncing on it. We've held it literally since the C19 crash. I think this is one of the greatest support trend lines anyone could put on their chart to have, I mean, an inarguable amount of data. We're talking about 1,200 days. Okay. So it's inarguable. Whenever XRP gets slightly below this line, we pop up right above it very quick. So if we're going to have a deeper correction, I would like to entertain this line, and I would like to entertain the month of September. So it would be about 39.40 Bitcoin. I actually talked about this in my last video. So if anyone is new to my work, watch my last video because I go in depth in all of my feelings about XRP. I'm probably kind of reiterating some of that here today. But I would love a 40 cent XRP. Oh, because I de-risked at 86 average. That would be, oh, I would love it. I would really like to see it get that low because that would be extremely oversold and way too scary for retail.
Mhm.
Retail, when retail's not buying and only panic selling, it's the greatest time to buy. And I do assume that whoever bought up this wick were the same people that created this crash. That's also how this goes. So yeah, if we can hold this long-term structure for 1200 days, I would assume if we're going to have a deeper correction than what we've already experienced, it's going to be about 40 cent XRP. Probably be the best buying opportunity. Um, I wouldn't say best buying opportunity because even right now is a great buying opportunity. But if we're talking about getting super, super discounted XRP, that'd probably be the level.
Mhm. I see. I see. Do you think we
Now,
sorry, brother. Do you think we recover for a little bit in the interim before we get there?
yes, there's one opportunity and it's about 60 cents. This is purely technical and it has to do with this 52 to 53 cent level. If we could get a daily close above 53 cents, I think in short order we can smack right into 62, 63, 64. But then more than likely, depending on timing, if we can't hold above that, we're probably going to keel over again. And that's just the nature of how this coin acts. Like if I was to turn everything off and give you guys a super clean chart, just look at how often it does these Bart Simpson heads. I mean, it's every single time over and over and over and over and it's forever. It's just the way this coin moves. We've barred it again all the way down. And I mean, I don't really see us having too quick of a recovery. It's probably going to be as spaced out as it is in these iterations over here. Like you can see from the start of this one to this one right there, it's about 113 days. From this one to the start of this one, it's about 75 days. From this one over to this one, it's about 73, 75 days. We could have these are very clean, a little bit more spaced apart from here to here. It's way longer, but you get the idea. Like we keep having these fractal patterns of crown top distributions. That's what I would call them if people are getting offended by the Bard head comment, but that's really all it is. They're just distributional crown tops, and this coin loves to make them. I've never seen anything in this world, including penny stocks, that do as much of a cyclical patterning structure where we get this shape,
Yeah.
and we've completed that shape as of today. So yeah, I mean, we see that as we have the initial correction, we do bounce slightly, but then we do tend to have a W. So what this is in plain English is perhaps a little bit up right here, then W down. Then once you break that neckline, you're good.
Mhm. I
Like
see.
we could literally have a dollar XRP. God, I know this puts me on the chopping block, but I think we could actually have a dollar XRP by March, like $1 to $2 XRP, be back in this range up here by March.
It's not bad.
No, not at all, because what I said to you before about this being your macro automatic rally, let me turn this all off and put it on biweekly. For this being your macro automatic rally, whenever you get above that, that's called an SOS, and it'll have a jump probably to 250 in this range pretty quickly. Then it'll back test about 150 and then off to the races.
Mhm.
And that process is very fast. You can see this idea actually in this pattern here. Now, what I don't like about this is it was too new to give fresh information on, but we can see we have a buying climax, selling climax, automatic rally, clean like a Christmas tree. Then we have this really arduous consolidation to just bring a lot of boredom, and then boom. When it popped like this was your SOS and this was your backup phase, and then we went one leg higher. Some
Mhm.
people have theorized that we're going to redo this all over again. I don't agree with that at all. This
What do
is
you?
in,
Yeah. What do you think we're gonna do instead?
I think we're going to have a typical backup phase now that this chart has matured. And what that would look like, let me try to find like just a brand new XRP chart. And this way I could give you guys an idea without all this excess noise. So it's going to be something like this. Imagine we have a little short correction into the Q4 time of this year. We pop up back into about this range in March, somewhere about $1.30. Then a little bit of playing around and then come back up one more. This is your SOS phase. Now, when you get to about here, you're going to have a backup. And your backup, you tend to test the AR, the automatic rally range. And then you could chop around here for a little bit, believe it or not. This could be very well timed as well, the way that I'm sharing this over here, where like we have a little bit of the backup in August and then price discovery. And then your price discovery, you could do in many, many, many ways. Some people like to just pull a fib. I think we could have fun with that idea. And then usually your 1618 is your first impulse. Let me make sure this is on. And then if I turn it on log, it's going to show me this much, much higher target, which is respectable. I mean, I've been saying it's like a 14 to 23, $24 XRP. So that's not far off. But we're talking wicks here, like literally wicks. And I'd be very cautious with XRP. Anything above this $3 range, you want to make sure that your limit orders are set, because this fucking coin always is like the deactivator of exchanges.
Yeah. And
Like
that's another
whatever,
thing too,
whenever it
right?
has volatility, it could shut down an entire exchange.
And that's another thing too. Even just the day before yesterday, when the big crash was happening, people can get on exchanges. What were you trying to do? Too bad.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't get on anything at all, at
Yeah.
all. And you think that's
I'm
interesting?
really surprised my limit orders triggered
Yeah.
back when it went up to 80 cents. I was really surprised. I wasn't anticipating it because everyone was having issues with the exchanges that day.
Mhm. Yeah.
But needless to say, I think that structure, if anyone wants to go back to the playback of this and screen cap it and get kind of an idea, some people are just in full blown denial of the 4-year cycle idea. I'm not going to argue that with people, but until Bitcoin breaks that, I mean, I don't know what to tell anyone. So it's just going to follow suit. This idea of having a March April rally next year is very plausible.
Let's see. So hypothetically speaking, let's say we do get that March April rally next year for Bitcoin. What does that entail for the price?
So for Bitcoin in the last fractal, it was very clean where we came up perfectly to the 1618 right there into April. And this was, I think, very elusive. This was a very, very difficult bull run to navigate.
Very, very,
Very,
very.
very difficult because we had the C19 crash that was huge. That kind of got everyone who was feeling that this would be in a recovery energy. It kind of threw everyone off and brought in some depression. And then alongside all the other shit that changed in our lives. But then when it had this moment here, as it was breaking out into Thanksgiving, I remember that vividly. Everyone was in denial that we were going to continue going up. I didn't know anyone at the time who really felt like we would keep moving and moving and moving. And it just didn't stop. And this was one of the most exaggerated exaggerated push-ups for Bitcoin without any corrections along the way that I think you could see in the entire chart history of Bitcoin. Like back then, it was breaking records of 3-day candle closes, 5-day, etc. So if I was to just use the same data, I could assume that, you know, I really have a hard time entertaining these $100,000 plus levels, but I would say that at least in the 80 range, at least in the 80 is possible for the next bull run. Now, as for April or March, some people might disagree with this, but I actually don't think we'll see price discovery for Bitcoin just then, because we haven't really seen Bitcoin price discovery during pre-halving ever. So we have to consider that. And again, I know there's going to be people that deny the halving, but it's like, well, the data's in the charts. Like every time we have a halving event, everything is pretty discounted and it's in a good position to buy. So going back to right here, this was the last Bitcoin halving. I mean, it was only $9,000 and then it went up to almost 70,000. That was a great time to buy, right? And you could do this over and over again looking at the past data. And where Bitcoin was in May of 2020, that was comparatively where pretty much same energy for XRP. I think XRP was at 20 cents at that time. So we have the next Bitcoin halving in April, May.
Do you believe that price percentages or percentages from the bottom to the top play a big role more so than the price? Do you know what I mean? Because, for example, with XRP from the end of the SEC case all the way to its automatic rally to around $2, that a lot of people look at that and they're like, that's a lot of profit that you could have made from that exact bottom to that top, right?
That
From that
is very
17
true.
cents to $2. And with Bitcoin, what you just showed from C19 all the way up to that new all-time high, that's a lot of profits, even though C19 really brought it back to earth quite a bit. And so I
Yeah.
feel like people people hide behind the prices because they don't necessarily know how to navigate the percentages, if that makes sense.
There's something to this, and there's a technical component as well. Like, I think that it's important that we revisit some of our earlier conversations where I was telling you why I was so active in trading this 2021 market on XRP.
Yeah.
And how I was able to do it was because I wasn't really entertaining price discovery at all. I was entertaining profitability based on my personal financial goals and what I needed to take care of myself and my family. So this is important that people remember. I wasn't creating an investment thesis around arbitrary numbers to the upside. I was creating it around my trading plan, which was based in, well, I bought XRP at 17, 18, 19 cents. Do I really need it to go to some crazy, like, no. And I'm really glad that I treated it almost like the way that I paid attention to stock investors trading during bull runs, because you can go and study any of these guys. They're not anticipating these insane parabolic advances, and that's why they usually stay winning, whilst the majority of these crypto people, like, they miss out on an entire bull run because they are theoretically wanting more, and it's greed, greed, greed. So I agree with you. That was why I did everything I did back in 2020. I was buying in all around this halving time frame for Bitcoin, which you can see was a really nice opportunity, somewhere around 19, 20, 23 cents. And then I was effectively de-risking about $1 to $1.86, I think was the last time I got out. So that was a lot of opportunity. That was a lot of profits. And I think that people need to kind of maintain that attitude, even though I'm saying that we could go up much higher into the next rally based off of overall market structure. But is there anything wrong with you taking a little off the gambling casino table at like $5?
Oh, that's
Like,
unacceptable, Waters. That's unacceptable. You
right.
can't do it, or else
And
you're
watch, I bet you it's going to go like this. I'll predict it right now, even though I hate using that word. It's going to go to $8, but you're only going to be able to get out at 5 because 8 is going to be on a wick. And then it's going to stay like that for like 2 months. People are going to be like, what the fuck, man? I could have got out at 8. And then it's going to drop all the way to 3 in that whole time frame. And then it's going to shoot up to like 15. And people are going to miss out on all of that because they're going to just panic sell down to 3. They're never going to take profit at 5 to 6. It's rinse repeat.
yeah,
So, like, the words of wisdom, bro, is like, you people right now that are listening to this podcast, you're getting it at 50 fucking cents.
yeah.
If you think 5 is not enough, then, like, I don't know what to tell you, man. It's like almost like you don't deserve it. You just don't. You have greed running your entire investment thesis.
Hmm.
And that's going to be really difficult for you to do well in business. It's going to be hard for you to do well in relationships in life. It's going to do hard because you always want more and more and more. Like, this is serious wisdom here, man. Like, if you can't conquer one of the forms of greed that you suffer from in life, it's going to bleed into every other form of greed that you have.
Do you have a eternal bag of certain cryptos like Bitcoin and XRP, for example, that you don't touch at all, that you're just
Yes.
holding forever? You see, now that right there is extremely important for everyone at home to listen to, because Waters Above, despite saying what he's saying, he has the ability to be completely incorrect in what he just said, right? And saying you're too greedy. If you don't sell a 5 and make a 10x, you don't deserve it. Because even let's say we go to 589, because that's XRP's number, it's 589, right?
Yeah.
Waters is going to
Five
benefit
dollars and
from
89 cents.
589, right? You're going to benefit from it. But when the stars align and the Illuminati make us trillionaires, we're going to be trillionaires. because you have an eternal bag. And this is something I'm telling everyone at home. I am a bigger XRP fan than I believe 99.999% of the planet, right? Like I've literally made this coin my life for the past 4 years, right? And I think it's irresponsible if you're not taking any type of profits at all. But there's a contingent of the XRP community that believes it's irresponsible to take profits. And to those people, I invite you to continue to hold and hold until your heart's desire. And that's completely fine. And I respect it. And I'll be there holding a portion of my bag with you all the way to the promised land. Right. Because
just remember, your tombstone isn't going to have your amount of XRP that you hold written on it.
And that's something else to think about. Right. So it's something where we're speaking to people that may not know better. Right. There are some people that you can't tell them anything. I will hold my XRP forever until 20, 30, 40, 50, $100, and that's fine. And
Well,
that's
you
your
know what this
plan.
reminds me of? This is actually very much like the XRP max, as the Bitcoin maxis. Like
Oh
the
yeah, it is.
XRP army having this hodl forever mentality actually makes them have a lot to relate to with the Bitcoin maxis.
Yeah, I
Believe it or
think
not, that's a
yeah,
huge part of their like core philosophy. It's just we're always right every bull run, so just keep holding, right? Isn't that the same kind of energy of just always hold the XRP to the day that never comes?
yeah, it's true. And I'm not saying there won't be a day that things don't change, but until then, like this is what I've learned. Chart analysts that get shit thrown their way are genuinely over here just reasoning with people based on what they see. Right. I've seen a number of very grounded technical analysts like yourself, like Robert, like Backer, like Torre. Like you guys are just telling people, hey, 589 is not coming. Like it's not coming right now. If it does, great. But I'm making money right now. And that's amazing. And I feel like not enough people have that in their minds because of individuals that they're giving one side of the coin, and that's the partnerships, the developments, the theories, and there's a place for that, but there's also a big place for making money and generational impact. So it's a balance, I guess. It's hard to it's hard to reason sometimes, but I'm continuing to do my best to bring you on and have people look at you continue to be right with your blue moon flash crashes and your red moon double bottoms of FTX and Terra Luna. And
Well, that
people,
means a lot to me, brother.
it's true. It's like fuck. To a certain point, it's kind of like fuck you, Mr. Cryptodamus. Like go go,
Well,
go start a crystal ball business and tell
well,
me how that goes.
this is a great opportunity for me to actually share something that some people might already be aware of, and it's that because I'm not always right. I actually, a big part of my core philosophy on life is to not even try to be right.
Mm,
I think that in our attempt to be right, we actually make the most mistakes.
yeah, that's
And
true.
it removes us from being present, and it removes us from being analytical in a way that is void of the emotions and influence of others. Like, because a lot of the time, the reason we want to be right is because we want people's acceptance.
Mm,
So by default, that's a form of weakness. If you live a life where you're trying to make others validate you, then you're not living for yourself, you're living for other people's acceptance. So I had to struggle with that in the beginning of making my YouTube channel, because it is kind of cool when you make your first call, right? And it's public and everyone's like, holy shit, how do you do this? And I can feel that prana. but I'm over that now. Like after the past couple, like now going on over a year and a half, like I don't desire to be right anymore. Like I'm just here sharing my truth. I'm making relationships along the way with amazing people who know a lot about other things that I have no clue about. And to just revisit to a time where I was absolutely wrong, but I made actionable steps before I was wrong that secured me and made it so at the end of the day, it didn't even matter if I was wrong, which was kind of what you were sharing before. And it
Yeah.
was back when Bitcoin was making this whole move up here into Q4 of 2021. I was a firm believer that we should actually advance one more leg higher, at least into 100K based off of prior data of percentage gains from bottom to top. And I was completely wrong about that. But I took profit all throughout this range. And I was even taking profits over here on the day of Rosh Hashanah, the Hebrew New Year, which is when I connected with Coach JV at the time, the biggest channel to invite me on to share this sort of esoteric information. And I was de-risking between 53 to 56. And I de-risked so much to the point where I could have secured myself multiple Bitcoins on this correction. So it didn't even matter to me. Like the amount of money that was being generated off of all this profit taking in this range was based off of technical analysis. And if it was to go up one leg higher, it would have just been icing on the cake for me. But I think what happens is some people are in this waiting and waiting and waiting, and they don't take any action up here when people are feeling greed.
Yeah.
So it's coming back to the same thing. Like if you see a massive amount of greed in the market, that's a time to just shave off a little bit of profits. Like there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with just securing back your initial investment after you made a 5 or 10x. That's what I teach. Like I teach that in my exit strategy blueprint. I share the exact play by play how to develop from everything on your cash flow side to your goals that you have. But one of my least favorite things that I was seeing from the XRP community back then, back during 2020, and it still happens today on Twitter, which is the reason why like I don't even fucking like Twitter and I don't really enjoy using it at all. But it's like all this XRP content where they're like, if you hold 10x XRP, you're going to be a billionaire someday. It's like, what? Who taught you that? Like, what? Where are you getting this from? This is very dangerous information. Like, it's a very dangerous set of information to have people thinking that I have 1,000 XRP and this one guy on Twitter said that I'm going to be a millionaire someday. And for you to actually believe that, that's like really, that's the tactic they were using in the 1980s on cold calls, that like Wolf of Wall Street shit, like cold calling people off of pink sheet stocks. And that was the same kind of promise on returns that they were giving them. Very, very unsafe way of communicating with your audience, because it's not based in anything besides hope and bad math. So the long and short of this whole idea is I think it's important that people create a better investment plan, a better trading plan, and they trade that plan when that time comes and stay conservative and use sentiment as your indicator. If things are getting fearful, it's a very good time to accumulate. Things are getting a little too greedy, it's a pretty good time to try securing some of your wealth that you've just accumulated.
Amazing. The most grounded shit I could fucking hear. Unbelievable.
And I
Uh,
want people to know that I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong when it's through the lenses of something as minute as some sort of price level, you know. But at the end of the day, it's the actionable steps that really matter, and that's what I
And
want people to gather from all of this.
and I think the most important thing I can say as well is that, the more you shorten your time horizons, the more probable it is that you're going to be incorrect, right? The Like, let's say you need to make double your money tomorrow and you need to find something that's going to do it right away. Yeah, you're going to probably be wrong, right? But let's say you need to double your money in a year. The higher the likelihood that you could look at a chart, analyze it, get a good entry, and say, okay, I'll probably be right, right? And you probably won't get the best entry, right? Nobody can get a perfect entry, and that's the thing. It's like everyone wants to time everything as if they're a modern day cryptodamus, and you can time every entry and exit and the perfect tops and bottoms like magnificently. No, if you guys could do that, you are AI, and you should be hired by BlackRock immediately. You're not going to be, right? You're not going to be. So I think it's important to be easy on yourself, be easy on the people trying to give you solid info as well, because we try very hard and do our absolute best to be as accurate as possible. And I think that it's gonna be a grind this next couple weeks, especially. I mean, I think we're both kind of expecting this drop to come at some point in some way, shape, or form. And I think for some people it may be scary. For people here, I think we've been kind of hollering at the top of our lungs that it should be expected. So I don't think it'll catch many by surprise. But I guess to kind of cap off this pod, I'm really curious to know if you have any dates specifically. I know you talked about the eclipse in October 14th being a major one, but are there any more esoteric dates that have the stars aligning that we need to pay attention to? Because apparently that's the most important thing that I need to pay attention to, since you could call triple blue moons and quadruple red moons and the backhand of an eclipse causing Bitcoin to go retrograde when the sky is gray.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's something like that.
Something like that,
Well, I think that there's a couple of pieces of data. For one, we know that we're moving into the Hebrew New Year soon. And if we look at just basic historic market data over the past, 70, 80 years, you're going to be able to see very quickly that the month of September is not the most fun. It's where we get some of the most noticeable crashes and events. And this housing market is very problematic right now. If anyone's studying that, I know I said before, I'm by no means a specialist on real estate, so I'm not going to talk on something that I don't actually know all of the metrics of. But from the people that I pay attention to, they've been shouting that, time's coming close to some big issues revealing themselves.
yeah.
And that's kind of part of my thesis of why this fall time could have an event, along with this Rosh Hashanah being very specific because it's the end of a jubilee, which is a 50-year cycle. I might have talked about that on past podcasts we've done together.
Mhm.
But this particular Rosh Hashanah is going to be right at the end of Mercury stationed retrograde. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but I've gone ahead and looked at all the Mercury retrogrades going back to like the C19 crash. And most of the time we're ending them at losses, either neutral or we're more in the red. So we tend to be neutral and then actually flush lower, or we just are in a downtrend during them.
Mhm.
So keep that in mind. We're about to enter that very soon. It's going to start on the 23rd. We know that that's like in the second day of the BRICS conference that's coming up in South Africa.
Mhm.
I do feel like that's going to play a role in some conversations that bleed into what could be going down in October with the Euro central banks, because we heard it directly from the horse's mouth, Christine Lagarde, saying that they're going to be deciding on a digital euro as soon as October 2023 for the euro. That's big. That's very big. And I believe that that's very positive for Bitcoin, precious metals, um, for anyone that
XRP.
for XRP for sure. For if it's positive for XRP for Bitcoin, it's going to be positive for XRP. Um, of course, XRP still is in this case. So weird shit could happen that could be negative, that could create flash crashes just isolated to XRP, right? So that's something to, I think, keep in mind. I'm not going to be the guy that says that one of those things will happen. I think for the most part, I've already been very transparent about the 40 cent target on XRP and how that would be a great opportunity. I'm not seeing 20 cent, 15 cent, anything like that insane. Even if there was to be some negative stuff going on with Ripple and the SEC. But needless to say, this Mercury retrograde thing, it's very not fun. But anyone who's been following my work or our podcast knows that we've been talking about September forever now. So I'm looking to have the buying opportunities in that time frame into the October solar eclipse. We know that the past iterations of solar eclipses have not been fun. I mean, some of the biggest isolated events in crypto have happened during those eclipses, notably the one back here, which was with FTX. And then we had the one over here, which was with Terra Luna. And the next one we have, it's hard to determine what it could be, but it might be, and this is a theory, and I'm having fun with the theory, considering the
Mhm.
timing of things. It could be something that brings on the problem reaction solution
Mhm.
for CBDCs.
Yeah.
That could be it. It could be something that's isolated to crypto. Like it could be something with Binance,
And you know what? Water?
Coinbase, or something.
You know what, Waters? I'm really glad you reminded me about this because I actually had a post on my Twitter talking about how Binance and CZ have a loan out with BNB at 200 and they're gonna get margin calls at 212 for that coin. I'm curious to know, like,
Whoa.
yeah. So we're pretty close to that area actually. So I'm curious to know if you see some potentially happening with that coin. I think for the most part, Coinbase is pretty safe, right? I think they are, but I'm curious to see your take on BNB, especially because, in my opinion, BNB is just another FTX waiting to happen, right? And I also believe, and I'm curious to know your thoughts as well, if you have some esoteric knowledge on Tether too. I'm curious to know your take on that bad boy as well.
Yeah, I think we talked about this in maybe our first podcast, how when Tether was getting the most juice, like when it was getting the most coverage, like even people like CoffeeZilla and shit were making videos about it. Um, this is a sign that it's like a look here, don't look there. And that was going on for a really long time until UST collapsed, until Terra Luna stablecoin collapsed. Like again, it was a look here, don't look here, so you get flushed out of this thing. And at the time when all the Tether bullshit was going on, all the people saying all this negative stuff and how it's a Ponzi, this, that, and the third. Well, Terra Luna was like the talk of the town, and it was like the best project ever, right? Like it was super positive, and everyone was thinking how great it was. The same thing with fucking FTX. So I like to look at things from that perspective. If something is getting so much negative press and it's all accepted and everyone agrees upon it, well, then that's my way of going, well, that's the psyop. So I don't have any real things to say about Tether besides what I feel is that it is part of the New World Order. And the New World Order does not make things that fail. They use people to make things that succeed for a short term and then fail. But I don't think that's the case for Tether. I straight up think that Tether is part of the club. It's part of the money washing scam of elites just on the blockchain, just like what they do between the Vatican and the city of London and Switzerland. It's just a big
Oh.
money. It's a big money washing or organized.
Waters, you gotta save shit for the pod. The world's not ready. The world's
All
not
right.
ready. It's not
All right.
ready for all of it.
Well,
Um,
that's it, man. We're gonna have a financial conspiracy podcast.
the
But
dude,
yeah, so my take on Tether is I'm not as I think people expect me to think that it's like this piece of shit, but in actuality, I think there's a lot more shitty things that are going on in the stablecoin realm,
Mhm.
and I think that USDT and USDC are, for the most part, they it is what it is. Yeah, I say this often about banks and exchanges, and I'll bring stablecoins and I'll bring hardware wallets. Fuck, I'll bring cold store, like I'll bring hot wallets too, like the Atomic and all that other mess. They're all more alike than they are different. They're all more alike than they are different. Yeah, they have different talking heads on their website that they show you, some dev team, but like ultimately at the end of the day, they're all more alike than they are different. Like FTX was a very extreme case because it was like purely derivatives. Like when I started hearing about these bull and bear pairs and like how you can't get liquidated, I was just like, are we for real? Like we believe in this? A trade that you can't get liquidated on, but you could use like 10x leverage? Like what the fuck are we doing here? And there was
Yeah.
serious YouTubers going out of their way, like 100,000 fucking million subscriber YouTube channels going out of their way being like, this is the greatest thing ever. Okay. And then the same YouTube channels talking shit about Tether. So I don't know, man. Like, I'm not really scared about things that everyone else is scared about. If anything, for me, like if the world is scared about something, I get excited about it. But I'm not a big proponent of holding my anything in stables. I would much rather be in Bitcoin. I know that's like weird to some people, but that's been the time and tested for the wealthy. You know, if you're gonna pick anything, you might as well be in Bitcoin.
I understand.
So you asked a question about Binance.
Yeah.
This is tough for me because I have this Binance chart that I've been keeping like this untouched now for so fucking long, and I cannot believe that it has not broken down. This
And
is one of the best bear markets we've seen.
that's part of why I was very curious to know your take, because I know I see that trend line that you have going through there, and that's around the 80 to $90 range, I
Yeah,
believe. And it's one of
correct.
those things where there's a lot of speculation that because there's a loan out from Binance on this BNB token, and I think there's a lot of um, some artificial propping up of this
Oh
token
my
that's
God.
going on. So it's interesting, and especially with them getting sued the way they are, I wouldn't be surprised if just imagine the perfect storm. We got Binance and BNB get wiped out, go bankrupt, boom, October eclipse, wipe out, final black swan into bull market. We're good to go. Like I'm just looking for a narrative to match
Yeah.
what we see in the charts and we see in the stars coming already,
You
right?
know what? You know what, bro? You know what I just thought of? This is the first time I'm ever saying what I'm about to say.
I feel honored, bro. Go ahead, go ahead.
The FCC and Gary Gensler have been dropping the ball so fucking hard that this Binance move might be their redemption. This
Hmm.
might be their way of saying, hey, we started this legal process and we were right. And now all the blood on their hands gets washed away because they're like, we did our job right this time. You feel me? By quote unquote saving the people from
Oh
Binance.
yeah, save us by getting us wrecked.
But you see where I'm like, you see where they could play that like that card.
Unbelievable.
I know that sounds ridiculous. I know that sounds like absolutely
No,
insane.
dude,
But if
I
that
get
was
it.
the case, if that was the case that they were propping this whole ordeal up with whatever they're doing, maybe it's Bitcoin, I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
if that's the way it's running and they're not as liquid as we might think, and
Mm.
there are some serious issues going on like on the back on the back end of things on the accounting side,
Yeah.
then Binance could be like a hero in this case. Or,
Yeah.
sorry, not you know what I mean, the SEC.
Quote unquote. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that is, I've been looking for where this black swan could come in the market, and BNB and or Tether could be the real big boys that experience some shit, to be honest with you. So that's interesting to hear your take, because I saw that target you had right there on that trend line, and I'm like, wow, that's that's a
Yeah,
good yeah.
the only thing yeah thing that I'm a little worried about with this idea is that where does it give opportunity? Am I still here with you guys?
Yeah, you were cutting out a little bit, but I think you're better now.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Excellent.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to say before, if Binance gets wiped out, this is very difficult for retail. Like,
Yeah.
where do we, are, are they kind of going to destroy one exchange at a time till the government's just making their own?
Well, that's a it's kind of the plan, right? It's not really the people's currency anymore. It's more like the stock market 2.0. So wouldn't be
So
surprised.
the technical thing that I'm pulling up here that I haven't done yet was first of all, I'll explain some of these things going on in the Binance chart. you have this long-term trend line that if I was to just pull up a area chart, you get kind of the idea what's going on in the support. So we had deep correction. We called it the bear market of 2018. Nice rally. Like, I cannot believe that the automatic rally of Bitcoin ended up being a new all-time high for Binance. So already showing lots of strength. Then correcting into this line again. Excuse me. And this is why I've decided to keep this line. So we could probably adjust this to be a little more fair, like up to about here. We get some more touch points. If you're telling me at, what did you say, 212, they get liquidated?
Yeah, as far as what I've been hearing.
Well, we're like there.
Yeah.
Like, and what are the ramifications of this? Like, I kind of want to know a little bit about what you know,
Yeah, so let me just pull it up so I'm not over here speaking out of my ass. Give me
because I'm
one.
really interested on this. I mean, really, if I was to keep this trend line in a fair position, it would take you to about 90, about 80 to 90. And then I was playing around with this reverse fib pull before. So just quick little TA lesson for everyone. If you pull Fibonacci retracement in reverse, it's super helpful. I'm pulling it from that swing low to that swing high, just like you would in a normal bullish pull. And then I have this fibs levels based on log scale turned on, and I'm in a logarithmic chart, and it's showing you our 1618, the golden ratio, right there at 80 on the nose. So that was about where I had this gold trend line before, but it's not the most fair trend line because we should really have some more touch points. Remember, when we're doing trend lines on crypto, we don't really want to care about the wick as much because wicks on crypto are insane. We're talking 50x, 100x leverage these guys are playing with. So you want to be more playing.
Yeah, yeah,
You want to definitely disregard the wicks. And that's why for me, like when you see me do my really thorough analysis, it's on 5-day, weekly, bi-weekly charts. And then I want to pull up areas so that I could get rid of all this noise. It's something I taught like 2.5 years ago, or almost 3 years ago now, on the crypto mastermind course that I created over on my website. And it was really helpful for people because not only does it get rid of all this extra stuff that's very distracting, but for newer people that want to learn TA and get into some of this stuff quickly, like you want to expedite your process of learning how to actually read these charts, I think this was a game changer, just to use area a lot more than using candles. So
yeah.
I like this right here because I'm getting a touch on the C19 crash, another final touch before an uptrend into price discovery. And then right now, if I was to zoom out, go to like a daily, see where this line takes us. I mean, by the Rosh Hashanah, it's at 155. So that'd be another leg lower, and that would not be fun. Whew, all right.
It wouldn't surprise me to see the U.S. government, SEC, especially BlackRock, as the big boy on the block that really wants this to continue to try and take Binance down and the price of Bitcoin down as well. Because what do we really expect these big boys to come into the market with the price really high and launch their ETF and then have BlackRock coming on as the new exchange in the world that's really taken over and having these prices as high as they are with Binance's competition? Absolutely not.
Yeah, man. And that feeds into another thing that I've been thinking about with banks, like with retail banks, because remember what happened back in 2008. So if we do actually have some fuckery go down in the housing market, which it seems like something's got to give. Yeah, man, we could have another banking merger where credit unions get completely wiped out. And I've been talking about this now for some time about a theory that it's clear to me we can see who the winners are. Like Bank of America, I think is an obvious
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
winner.
yeah.
I think that JP Morgan Chase and all the things that they're involved with, Morgan Stanley, um, Charles Schwab also is another one that's in that Chase family. And then we have American Express. I don't think they're going anywhere as of right now, but I
Mhm.
do feel there's going to be like a banking Royal Rumble that goes down and we could see some crazy shit happen. And of course, if they're moving forward with CBDCs, they need to move forward with the banks that they feel can do this and do it right. And there's been talk of Chase already developing their own stable coin. I think a lot of these fintech companies are already developing their own stable coins. I believe PayPal and Venmo and all of them are already in the pocket of all of these banks that are too big to fail.
Yep.
So theoretically, I think this BlackRock idea is plausible. Like we could have all these fucking crypto exchanges that we know today get completely wiped out, and BlackRock comes and buys them all.
Powerful.
Theory. It's an interesting theory. What hey, because you're more savvy on this than me. What is your opinion about the stock about the housing market?
Yes, I definitely believe we need a retracement. It's one of those things where it's interesting because there's mass demand, but also there's not much supply. But at the same time, the people that purchased homes at extremely low rates, they don't want to give up those rates, right? So we have a lot of demand, but prices being too high with interest rates being too high. And once the Fed pivots, I think we're going to see a mass influx of people that were on the side really propping up the market quite a bit. So it's like it's one of those things where I expect a flash crash at some moment in time, especially in major cities that saw a big influx during the C19, like in Austin, for example, even Miami, despite how many people came, I do expect some there. Phoenix, I expect a big retracement. Nashville, yeah, there are a lot of places that the population growth has stalled out. The interest rates are too high, and there are buyers. There are definitely people waiting on the side trying to buy some properties up. So it's not, to me, it's not going to be an '08 style complete crisis. It's going to be a crash. It's going to be bad. It's going to make people feel, oh, damn, this is bad. I'm stuck with a home that I'm down on. But there are definitely going to be people looking to pounce on it for sure. It's not, I think it'll be some sort of V shape.
So you're feeling like it'll recover fast.
Relatively speaking, the housing market moves slow. So it's not gonna be like, oh, one day or 1 week recover, but it won't be 2008, if that makes sense.
Okay, so you're not looking at it like an '08 repeat.
No, no, no.
Yeah, that's in a lot more alignment where I stand because I feel like if America is going to go through another big crisis, it's probably not going to be till like 2029, and that's in alignment with the 100-year cycle of the Great Depression.
Interesting.
And I do think that America still has some time to go before it becomes wretched. But again, there's been so much easy corruption that just hypnotizes the masses. And I
Yeah,
believe they went a little too hardcore during C19 with a lot of their narratives. And a lot of the overall liberal push has brought too many people to like their awakening. And if you guys know anything about the New World Order, they know just how hard to pump the gas pedal and they know exactly when to brake. So they know when like they need to slow down their agenda. And it doesn't work as easily in America as it does in a place like Australia, or a place like, I mean, there's very extreme examples, but also our system isn't as hardcore on us as some other places, like
yeah.
where you're watching a full-blown collapse of the dollar in a lot of countries right now. Like most pesos are on their way to zero.
Just look at Argentina.
Yep.
Just look at
Or
Turkey.
Turkey. Yep.
Yeah. Boom.
Yep. So this is definitely something that's showing to me that, like, well, all the rich people did exactly what I thought they did moving into the Shemitah year, which was last year, 2021 through 2022, which was they were in fiat.
Hmm.
And it seems like right when the fucking Rosh Hashanah hit and the Shemitah was over, they went speculative. And that's why we've been watching the stock market go up pretty much all the way until like a couple weeks ago, as you can see. Like this is the box of the Shemitah cycle. We have one every 7 years. If I go back in all of these, you can see some really nasty sell-offs during them. And you could see some of the biggest sell-offs we've ever had and crises we've ever had during them. That was your '08. This was your dot-com bubble. You just see it happens every time. So you're probably savvy on that. I think I've talked to you about that enough. But for anyone who's new here, that's a quick crash course every 7 years. And our next 7 year cycle is 2028, 2029. That's in perfect alignment for what I just said for the 100-year cycle of the Great Depression, specifically isolated the United States. And I think we're already feeling out with all the things going on with BRICS and their developments that we're ready for some change in the power of this world reserve that we've gotten so comfortable with. And in order for that change to come, well, they need to destabilize other nations. This is really sad how they do it, but
Mm.
this is the way the world works. That's why military is here. It's not here to keep your people safe. It's to enforce a new financial system. Anyone who doesn't know what I'm saying right now, and you
Yeah.
think it's about protecting your country, like, I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's never how it has been, ever, not once.
Yeah.
And every time we do see the people rise up and try to protect what is theirs, they find a way to make a Hollywood movie about it and lie to you about how the story really went. So there's like 100 psyops on the wall. Which one do you want to drink? So here we have this all-time high, then this correction right into the end of the Shemitah, perfectly. And then we just went up for the most part. I mean, on the NASDAQ, it was insane how we just went up. So I feel like they went heavy fiat and then they just put all their fiat in. And then now they're in the process of de-risking back into fiat. And the reason I feel that is because look at what's going on with gold. There should be no reason for a gold correction right now. If anything, gold should be up at new all-time highs now, because rich people would have been taking out from the speculative assets and they would have been putting it into the so-called secure hedge. That's not the case.
Powerful, brother. Anything else you want to discuss? I think this was pretty good for today.
No, man. I think we got a lot out of the way.
Perfect. So basically, to recap for everyone that's watching that may have gotten lost in all the sauce, all I have to say is expect a crash in a couple weeks and expect a recovery in 2024. That is the basic gist. And then me and Waters, we're going to talk about lizard people and how the financial system is fucked and some type of podcast collaboration moving forward, but in a more interesting way. We're going to break it down. All of the woo, my friends, all of the woo.